morning, Grace.
Morning.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
We'll be starting the meeting here in just a little bit. We're trying to work through getting our other board member signed in electronically here, and as soon as we do, we'll start the meeting, so bear with us. Oh, Jim Stearns. Okay, I guess we will be able to get them. We'll go ahead and get call the meeting to order. This meeting is being recorded, so everybody knows. I'd like to go ahead and start with the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are you there, Jim? Okay, are you able to get on? Okay, sounds good. Okay, sounds good. He's gonna keep trying to get in. Okay, roll call. Here. 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 Okay, good of the order.
I have one thing.
Okay,
These meetings are becoming more popular, and I know we've been talking about it for a long time, but it would be good to hold these meetings in the evening so the public could attend.
okay,
For a while, but working people have a heck of a time making that large part of our constituents.
very good point. Okay,
Maybe
and
we,
that is a discussion.
maybe we could have them earlier in the morning.
All right. One of the things I would like to bring up, after our last meeting, where the board members attended the SDAO training at District 3 regarding ethics. The training was a 2-hour training session, and they do not keep records of our attendance and everything, so I wanted it to go on record that Craig Berry, John Foster, myself and Jim Stearns attended that at our training session, so that we have record of it in the district that we did attend it. Okay,
Did you get a certificate?
no,
I did,
okay,
so maybe check your junk mail.
okay, we'll double check that. So, all right, moving on to the minute. Safety Minute Committee minutes.
Motion to approve the safety, minutes from the past meeting as presented here in the packet.
We have a motion and a second.
I had one question. OSHA requires that all safety members go through training prior to serving. Has that been complete?
We do that annually. Annually.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
All right, moving on to the regular session minute.
I think I touched base with John on a question, but page 5 says that we requested a future meeting with specific grant details
responsibilities and financial obligations prior to a formal decision. Are we intending to make a formal decision today?
What was the intent? At the last meeting, we had asked for, scope of work, the final numbers on the grant and all those type of things. And I think was that today's presentation.
At the last meeting, we discussed, the, upcoming RFP, and the state has its own verbiage for that, and that we haven't received that yet. Have you received that, Mike? I just got a communication. That's what that draft was. That was included. And so to finalize that, we would need to say we're going out for an RFP. And so the RFP would need to be filled out. We'd probably have to approve that RFP. And at the same time, I can provide all that. I provided in the past. It hasn't changed, but I would provide it one more time if that's what we need.
So we won't be making a final decision today, but we will, it's on the agenda to discuss it further today.
So the RFP is basically, that's a request for proposal. And that is a legal document that we're going to put out. It'll be on the government website, it'll be on our website, it'll be other places we have to advertise that because it's a prevailing wage position. And then once we get a bid back, you'll have a chance to approve that bid. So there's multiple gateways here. If you want to voice your concerns and try to stop it.
Yeah, I just wanted to have some more chance to have some more input or discussion. That's all I wanted.
I was gonna ask later, but I'll ask now, did we get an award letter?
We did not. No,
Does that come, when does that come?
I don't know. Honestly, you could reach out to Jason Canoes, I want to say, and ask him if the award letter is pending. I know I saw the press release and phone call, and
Is Jason the guy that works for, Harvey Cog?
he runs the CREP program for the Oregon Department of Energy. And so he would have been the person that you were CC'd, but I'll send you another email.
So I'm asking because whether we go with Harvey Cog or the attorney, they want to start with an award letter. So in that award letter, it has the dollar amounts and the particulars of the grant.
Gotcha. Yeah, RV could help with the writing of that. So that is Rogue Valley Council of Governments, and they have a grant writer there who does this. And from what I understand, if it's not free, it's much reduced compared to what a typical attorney would cost. And he had so last time I emailed Peter, he with RV Cog, he asked for the RFP or the name of the other document, performance agreement.
Did you send that or do I need to send?
The performance agreement is something they're going to be sending out. So the draft in here is a draft performance agreement, but it hasn't been completed for us yet. So as soon as that's ready, then if you want to forward that to the board, take a look at it electronically, and then get it on the agenda next month, hopefully.
Okay, thank you.
If we have any other comments or discussions on the solar grant, we do have it as an agendized item. We can move on.
Are we going to discuss, I still have some questions on it.
Yeah,
Are we
we'll
gonna
carry
discuss that today or is
Yeah.
that coming up?
We can discuss it today.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, back to the approval of the regular board of directors session.
One thing I noticed that was missing was looks like we discussed changing the number and amount of or some of the descriptions of our procedures, and that was going to be brought back up in the next meeting. I see that on our agenda today, though.
Yeah, are you talking about the policies?
Yeah, the topic will return next meeting for further review.
Yeah, those are all operational guidelines, and as such, I'll handle those at the fire chief level. They're not for the board of directors.
Motion to approve the board of directors regular session minutes presented here in the packet.
We have a motion
A second.
and a second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, moving on to the special session minutes.
I move we approve the minutes for the February 25, 2026 special session.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, moving on to the finance report.
Well, as all of you know, the flu and other things like pneumonia have been going around, and the fire district was hit tremendously hard with it. And at the same time, we had somebody out on medical leave for a month. And so the result of that is we paid out an enormous amount of overtime in the last month, including about $10,000. And nothing we can do about it. We had to do it. Just wanted to let you know that those are expensive ones for overtime.
Where did that put us, chief, for our budget for the year
We're still tracking
percentages?
well. I like to track pretty far in advance at this point in the year because we still have fire season in front of us, so that
Sure.
pull us back a little bit.
Okay, thank you.
And there were no other unanticipated expenses.
Any questions on the finance report?
I was just curious about the annual roof maintenance. Was there much feedback from the contractor on what they found up there and how often we should be doing that maintenance?
Yeah, so we used to use Lawless Roofing. They went out of business. Tell us they was gonna go out of business. They just quit on that. So we hired Treasure Point Roofing. We went into an annual contract with them. But in the beginning, they went up there and said the ridge cap on top needed to be replaced, and that explained the leaks that we was having, so they replaced the ridge cap. And that cost, I think, about $2,000. And then we entered into an annual contract where they'll come out 3 or 4 times a year and do maintenance, and we actually are paying less on that
Oh, great.
than we did for long.
Excellent news. Thank you.
All right, if there's no other questions on the finance report. Need a motion?
I move we approve the financial packet as presented.
Second?
It's that. Oh,
Okay.
John, go ahead. I'm getting tired.
Seconded.
Thank you.
Roll call vote for the finance.
Yes.
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 Okay. Any correspondence? Okay. Full business. Solar grant. I had no open discussion on that. Greg, do you want to give us an update to where we're at?
Well, the communications I've had are we're waiting for this, the performance agreement, which is the draft in here. It's just a draft. It's not specific for us. So once this is finalized, they will be sending it to Mike and he can forward that to the board, make sure it's correct. If he has any questions, feel free to reach out to me. And then we can decide whether we would prefer to have our lawyer or RB Cog review it and come back to us for further discussion. Yeah, so
Greg, we have a number of folks here in the audience. Could you give an overview to them what we're discussing in regards to the solar grant?
yes, so 2 years ago, I applied for a grant known as the Community Renewable Energy Program, and there are two stages of it that you could apply for. One was planning, and one was construction, and I applied for the construction one. So I found a local contractor who's done this multiple times, Ashland and Talent, our school districts and things of that nature. But what the grant does is it allows the public entity to receive state dollars or set aside a few years earlier, $60 million. And there are multiple rounds of this, and it's based upon the impact in the community. So what the legislature intended was that critical infrastructure inside of a city or a region needs to remain if we get a 9.0 earthquake and the bridges go down and we can't get diesel fuel deliveries. And we identified this department as critical resource. It could potentially be a alternate 911 that has served as the past. It could also potentially be a medical facility, unfortunately, and I don't want to try to figure out what it's going to be, but it may be a real beacon to a community that doesn't have any power and it's going through something a bit traumatic. And so I applied twice. The second time I figured out the grant ran a little more. We received a $603,000 fully funded grant to put 180 high power solar panels up on multiple pole mounts up on the hill behind us because of our roof issues. The roof was chosen to not go that route, and then we were going to put lithium iron phosphate batteries on the backside. Will provide the AC units. And, that's the kind of battery that doesn't catch fire, charge to 100, take it down to 0 every day. It's happy like that, and it would be grid tied. So if we made excess power in the summertime, send that up to the grid, and then we would get that power back free in the winter. But if the grid went down, it would stop, and the power would stay inside the building, and very minimal maintenance required for that. So that is kind of the gist of it. Now we're trying to get through the RFP process because we're a public entity and it's such a large dollar amount. We have to pay prevailing wage. So there's the Bureau of Labor that has to be involved. And there's some specific performance things that we have to, a lot of money. They want to make sure we do it. That's the main thing. They've done this probably 70 or 80 times. They got it down pat and so that's where we're at this point.
Just one quick comment, Craig, not to dive into this real in detail right now at this meeting, but the things you said about the emergency command center or possible emergency medical location here during a power outage event or an event, we could do that anyways, the way we're set up now with backup generators. Those are not dependent on this solar grant. We do that anyways.
We could, as long as we could get diesel.
Mm-hmm.
But if the bridges were down, we would not. So
I just didn't want to mislead people to think that we can't do that now as we're situated, because we certainly can without the solar.
yeah, we have diesel delivery.
Thank you.
And we have diesel here.
Yes, thank you.
And the generator works. All those things.
I just want to mention one thing, because I know we're gonna have other opportunities to discuss this, but it's kind of ironic that things gonna go right back here on poles. I don't have any idea what the footprint is, and it was mentioned in the safety committee meeting on February 11th that they're in the process of trying to clean that area up and make it more livable. Wondering how it's gonna interface.
There'll be shade up there and things will grow less. So might be nice to not be so weedy. But I don't know. I mean,
Make sure we keep the employees knowledgeable of what we're doing. And
absolutely. Would you like me to send down the department the documentation I have? I could CC everybody to help me.
no, I'm just trying to make sure we're all going in the same direction, because
Would that be okay? Okay, I'll do that.
Coordinate through that chief.
Yeah, I have. I'll do that.
Craig, one of the questions that I was asked on that is the back bank area has right of ways and everything. And when we went through the process of identifying that area, were those right of ways and seismic issues taken into account also?
They were. Yeah, okay. That was part of it.
what
Yeah, what
is
is it
the
like?
easement back there? Is it typically it's 15 feet from the center of an irrigation ditch? Branch Pass irrigation has a easement
Maintenance,
center out 15 feet.
maintenance easement.
Yeah. Yeah, that was all part of it. And it would have been cheaper to go on the roof. And we're lucky we got the grant because we had it's more expensive. Because we have to put on poles. But if we ever get a roof situation figured out, maybe
Okay, there's a
maybe
whole bunch of other issues that we'll bring up at a later date.
Sure.
We don't have any other questions on the solar grant. Move on to the tablet command. Chief?
So I'll refer you to page 39 of your board packet.
Would you say that one was
39, page 39. So this is a quote that we got, to install tablet command in all of our first got rigs. For the first year, it's 31,600, and then the following year, it'd be just under 17,000. We budgeted for this, but I under budgeted for it. So then we talked about using the money for station alerting to pay for it. John, I'll let you. Which page 39?
Which account were you planning on pulling this money from?
I'm gonna give you a couple of options today. But if we decide to do it right now, it'd be the capital levy fund. And so, that wouldn't pay for all of it, but we would have, we also have some money in the capital part of the general fund that we could go ahead and do it. So when I presented this to you last month, I presented it as, I have a new ambulance that I don't want to spend the money to put an MDT in and then go to tablet command. So I want to do tablet command now. We're gonna have to do tablet command in the next year or two because the county's going toward that. But I've kind of changed my mind on doing that in this budget cycle. What I would like to do now is push off tablet command for the next budget cycle, which is only 3 months down the road. And what that means is the new ambulance that is sitting down there waiting for tablet command, we put that on hold until the new budget cycle and move tablet command the next year in the budget. The current ambulance that we're using is in great shape. It's an excellent condition. It was scheduled to be remounted next year, but it's not ready to be remounted. I'm not gonna remount it until we wear it out and it's not close to be worn out. If it starts having problems, I can put the new ambulance into service in 1 hour. So I'm not worried about that. So I would recommend that we hold off on tablet command, move it to the next budget cycle. We can start to work in a couple of months. The bill hits after July. And we hold off on putting the new ambulance into service a couple of months. That enables us to put more miles and wear and tear on the first got ambulance.
If you say you can put the new ambulance into service in an hour, what would prevent you from putting it into service now in an hour?
Because it won't have tablet command or anything. I can.
So you would be transferring the MTT from the one ambulance to another then?
No, I can't because the MDT requires a mount. The tablet command, I believe you can do that. So I can put it into service minus an MDT. It just means that they have to talk on the radio a lot more instead of hitting a button on it.
As far as I'm concerned, this falls under your basic planning and operations of this fire district, and I think it's a good idea. And I like to utilize our equipment and use up any available usage and amortize that as well as we can. So I'm in favor of that proposal.
After I just spent $10,000 on overtime somewhat unexpectedly, I'm a little more reluctant to spend $30,000 on tablet command. So I would prefer we just move it down the road.
And we're okay to push it a year out or a budget cycle out.
Yeah, it'll move 3 months down.
So you also mentioned pushing off the replacement of the ambulance. The question I have would be, would you start that process because the build out time on an ambulance is considerably longer now than what it had been previously? So what are your plans with that?
Yeah, I'll work with Mark at Farrell and see what he thinks. When we move that ambulance the second out, we're not gonna put a lot of miles on it. So I think it's at least a year before we set it up for real.
All right.
You need a motion to make this decision, chief, or we go, okay, just discussing?
I think it's just for discussion.
I don't need a motion to not spend.
True. Good.
Okay, the next item was the workshop to discuss the dates for it.
So we got a letter from the union about scheduling a workshop to talk about the organizational review. And so I just wanted to set a date on that. It's easier to do that with everybody in the room. If, I didn't come up with a proposed date, so I'll just look at that right now. I'm thinking the first week of April. Or the last week of March. How about the last week of March? How about, April 1st or April 2nd?
Won't be able to attend either of those days. I work full time.
What time of the day?
I could do the evening.
I could do all day in those days.
But the week of the 23rd of March, any one of those days?
I could do the 25th, 26th, or 27th.
Any one of those dates work for you, gentlemen?
Yep, fine. Send me a note. I'll be here.
Okay.
What time of day?
I'm available all day. I prefer during the day, but
For your schedule, evenings works, you can't
Yeah.
during the daytime?
I can probably get here I can be here like 4. That's
Or you
early.
want to schedule a 4 o'clock workshop on, say, the 26th?
Yes.
3/26 at 4 o'clock.
Perfect.
Gentlemen,
And you'll coordinate that also with the union chief?
yes,
I see you're here too, so you, okay,
I'll send out a global email.
very good.
Will there be an agenda sent prior?
Not for, yes,
And chief, we also have that study also available too, so we can reference it.
okay, I'll bring it.
Okay. All right, new business. Resolution 25-26-009.
So resolution 25-26-009 just adds Jen Krusnick to the credit card list. Previously, our past employee was on it. That puts the credit card into her name. So we're requesting approval of that.
What were the previous amounts, if the same as this?
Yeah, the amounts didn't change.
I move we approve resolution R 25-2026-009.
Second?
Roll call vote. Yes.
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 Oh,
All righty. Okay, moving on to resolution R 25-26-010, a donation.
We received 2 donations from a couple of people, anonymous. I think they want to remain anonymous. These were just people that were, our folks went to their house and I think helped pick up some people, one here on Main Street, one maybe up on Hidden Valley Lane. And so they gave us some donations, asked us to spend it on the utilities. So the total amount is $139.
so Chief, do we have to go through the resolution process anytime we get a little tiny donation or thank you money?
Yeah, that's a good question, and we actually reached out to our auditor on that very thing, and our employees do such a good job. We've gotten a lot of donations this year, small dollar amounts that have come in. So we've been doing a resolution on each one. So the auditor said, if the person who donates the money specifies what it's to be used for, we have to create the resolution on it. If they don't specify, we can collect those donations throughout the year
Mhm.
and do one resolution at the end of the year.
Okay,
In
that
this
would,
case, they specified.
I understand.
Did I say that correctly, Kevin?
Okay. I move we approve resolution R 25-2026-050.
I'll second that.
Motion And a second, roll call vote, please.
Yes.
Jim Stearns,
Yes.
Don Ellis.
Yes.
Randy Ford.
Yes.
Yes.
Ready, chief's comment.
So with firefighters hiring, that went well. We brought on Casey Wilson first. Then we brought on Austin Champion, who's sitting in the back of the room. Gage Nichols will be starting March 15th. And then we have one more individual who we will be putting in the background check here shortly. We did apply for a wildfire season grant. We did not apply. We will be applying to Oregon State Fire Marshal. As we do every year, it's $35,000. We are just above the $2 million revenue mark. That would give us priority, but we expect that we're still pretty competitive. And if we get that grant, then we'll be hiring three additional firefighters for the season. That's all I have.
Okay. Monthly reports. In our board packages, you'll find monthly reports from different functions within the organizations that the captains reported back to, and that's what's being.
Is it just the two this time?
Yeah, I was gonna ask that same question.
Yeah, one of the captains has been on.
Okay. Any comments on the monthly reports?
You approve them?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, public comments. For the public to make any comments to the board.
If anybody wants to make a comment to the board?
Oh, yeah, okay. My name is Gary Clarendon, and I live 15 miles that way. 40 years. So I'm imminently connected to the department view. It takes, there's a fire department in between, you're well aware, but actually, some of the people here might recognize that they prevented a house fire from burning down the neighborhood and next door to me. Time, but anyway, so in Grants County, this department showed up along with ODF and along with Evans Valley. So it's quite a show by the time it's over. Anyway, that's just an aside. I'm here as a citizen to support the adoption of the grant, the battery and solar installation behind. I think that there are no end of good reasons to do it. Not the least of which are referenced indirectly in the grant proposal, the draft proposal. In my own mind, I think that resiliency as something that's part of the mission of a fire department cannot be overstated. And this would be a very critical part because the state recognizes it clearly. They made a point saying this place is a good place to have this kind of facility. And presumably, I certainly didn't listen to those conversations, but I can imagine they looked at the overall situation and said, yeah, this would be a good idea. But they gave this place the money to do it. I can't imagine why you would say, oh, I don't want that money. It's kind of crazy to me, frankly. But yeah, so that's kind of the baseline. I guess the other thing I would say is that the way it's designed, and this time the reading the draft to sort of verify some assumptions of it, it is connected to the would be. And so one thing, it would do some interesting things with your budget because you wouldn't have a power bill. I don't know how much you spend for power in this place on an annual basis, but this would make a difference. And nickels are nickels. And that's the least of reasons why, but it is certainly useful. think about. And, yeah, so I could talk more, but I think that sort of covers.
Thank you, sir.
Morning,
Good morning.
I'm Dale Porter. And I live 227 Fielder Lane. Just a real quick, couple of years ago, I had to make use of the EMT ambulance. They were very professional and yeah, great job. But I'm an advocate for solar. Give you a little background. I was an electrician in Vietnam, 69, 70. And I started a business in Kona, Hawaii, selling solar storage to the off-grid community on the Big Island. And I was in that business. I owned that business for over 40 years. So I've seen the transition from when it started where we are today. And it's like moonshot. It is so different now than it was back then. I mention this because there may be something I don't know about the grant that I don't understand why there would be any resistance to accepting this. I have solar on my house.
Yeah,
How about you?
yes. Yeah, my power bill went from several hundred a month to 2 digits, low 2 digits. And then I also have an electric car. Big difference.
Well, it's the best investment I've ever made in my life, and I paid for it. If it had been free or low cost, I don't know what the I don't know more what your grant entails, what it requires of you. There may be something I don't know. Maybe you could let me know what that is. I may be able to address it, but I offer my assistance if you have any questions about that. I have solar. I don't remember the last time I bought any electricity. But I brought my bill here and I made some copies if anybody wants to see it. But I believe it's the 20th of this month. We start over. It's a net metering system where in the summertime, I produce a lot more electricity than I need. And the power company appreciates that because that's where their problems rise. The transmission lines bringing power in are stressed because everybody's running their AC. You get line loss. Anybody who's had an extension cord and a high, you can feel the warmth that it's creating. Well, that warmth is that's your power loss, your voltage loss, and it causes more. It's like a hot wire loses more power than a cold wire. Absolute zero, you get almost no resistance. The hotter it gets in the summertime and high load, it feeds on itself. By generating power here, we're not transporting it from 1,000 miles away. And you would be doing that in the community. And it actually reduces the risk of fire in the forest due to what Pacific Power and PG&E down in California's experience. But I throw it to you folks. Do you have any questions that I might be able to help you with? Some concerns?
I think we're going to have an opportunity, hopefully by the next meeting, we will have received the award letter. And within that award letter, be a defined scope of the project and the defined monies that we would be receiving. It's my understanding on the grant that it's supposed to be 100% funding
Yes.
grant.
Yes,
Right.
yeah, we put some
Yeah.
contingencies in as well.
And so we'll have more details, and more of a finalized, a better picture of what the grant is going to be. So hopefully we'll have that award letter for the next meeting. And it will be an agendized item for discussion and everything. So, I think at this point, you know as much information on that grant as we do right now.
Okay.
We know that we have been awarded. We're waiting the award grant to see the scope of the grant, to see
It's
the
the
requirements of the grant and everything
It
like
was in the
that.
financial breakdown. Can I show you the grant? Okay, I'll forward that again to everybody. There were some questions during the last meeting about the quality of the power that's output. One of our board members, thought that the inverters put out what's almost a square wave, which isn't useful for AC circuits. And from my experience, I work in electronics, and whenever, very sophisticated electronics, whenever we have a problem with an instrument, the first thing we do is we put it on battery backup, so it gets nice, clean power from an inverter. I wonder if you could speak to your 40 years of experience, how the power quality has been. You have computers and things.
Craig would.
Well, that, what you first said about square wave is true 50 years ago when it started. Want to share with everybody?
It's pulse width modulated square wave is how they generate a fake sine wave. And I am also in the field.
Okay,
Yeah, so Randy works with,
then you
I-
can probably comment on this.
Absolutely, but I don't think I'm going to this morning. I've got other stuff to get through in this meeting, so.
yeah, he works with high voltage, extremely high voltage. So there probably are some concerns in his industry. What you work with, what's the highest voltage you work with? 40
40 volts are industrial power,
4160.
480 volts.
Oh, 480. Okay, so not super high voltage, but moderate voltage.
Yeah.
And so you might have concerns with things that spin, right? Big inductive load.
Induction is
Yeah.
about where 90% of the power is used in America. Inductive loads. And the
So-
AC power grid is very friendly to inductive loads, the motor loads and rotating loads, because that's how the power is generated in a rotating magnetic field.
Motors.
So when you shove DC in there and you try to play with it with electronics here, you can see this is the complexity of an inverter. If you don't see any components in there that are failure prone, you've never been around any electronic stuff. So I know how it's created. It's not sine wave power. It's a close proximity. It can cause problems in other ways, noise, electrical noise and different things, but I don't want to go totally into it right now.
I've never experienced any problems with the noise or spikes or anything with mine, and I have battery backup. In fact, when we were in Hawaii, we were in an industrial area, and there's air compressors. We didn't really have any heavy industry,
Sure.
but we had air compressors and you get spikes, and then we get voltage as low as.
It's not always voltages and spikes. It's a harmonic that is generated by that RF in that field of those spikes of current. And they're very noisy electrically, you don't hear it. It's an interference type of noise. And it's not always present, and it's getting better as they add more filtering and more components to these inverters, but they are electrically noisy. We have a lot of sensitive communications equipment in this building we have to have for our operations. And so I'm not saying it would be a problem, but they're not telling me it won't be or couldn't ever be.
I would recommend then that maybe, if you have concerns on that, there's been, you said 70 other systems that are out there,
Yeah, that's conservatively. I think it's more than that, actually. Yeah.
70 plus
Yeah.
systems. Why don't you check with, some of those systems and see if they've run into any problems?
I certainly have.
See if they're 5-star or 1-star.
Mhm.
I know we've got the plywood company down there. I imagine they have some big induction motors.
And they're mostly all new modern motors are inverter duty motors. They're designed to handle those spikes, high voltage spikes in that pulse width modulated sine wave generated power, because those voltage spikes are hard on motor insulations of old motors and also bearings because of the leakage out of that high frequency power that wasn't ever present in the old grid power that we have, the old true sine wave power. So these are just facts. I don't
Yeah.
want to say that it's going to be a problem for our installation or anybody else's, but they're potentials that should be looked at.
From what I've seen, it's highly unlikely, but nothing's impossible. A lot of what you're not getting truly clean power. That's why people put systems to clean up the power that comes in from the line. In an emergency situation, I would imagine your power is even going to be worse from the line.
Well, the grid's been pretty reliable for about 100 years, this AC sine wave power that we've all designed to be using. And so I would prefer to stay with that and leave the DC converted power to the other people that want to experiment. I just don't want my fire district experimenting with this stuff if we don't have to have it. And the other thing about the grid, as long as we're getting far into this, but we depend on this power grid as our base load power. These solar things are secondary. If we continue to take money out of the utilities' ability to support their operations, at what point does that create problems for the utility and for the grid? They need these paychecks monthly. They need to sell power, right? That's how they stay in business. That's how they have dams. That's how they have transmission lines. That's how they have all these lines that have served us for 100 years. If all these small people start taking all of this revenue away from them with these solar projects, what does that do to their bottom line to continue to support the base load that we need? I'm just asking that. I know you don't have an
And
answer.
I'm here to.
It's just the point that I think it should be looked at. But
I wish we had a Pacific Power person present. I don't know, maybe we can. My neighbor retired from PG&E. We're taking, there's certain periods where you need extra power. And that's what the solar is providing. Summertime is a season, you need extra power. They have to build more generation units. They have to strengthen the grid to deliver that power. With solar, you mitigate some of that. It helps at this stage in solar's development, we're actually helping keeping prices down. There'll be a point where California and Hawaii both have experienced this, where they require storage because everybody needs power at 5 to 9. That's the peak power usage. So they want to have access to your storage so that they can put that back in. It's saving them money. It's saving their equipment.
I think we have an opportunity coming up where when we receive the award letter and it defines the scope and everything with it, I think at that time, maybe we can have a representative from Pacific Power and attendance, yourselves, and we'll just slate out a block of time for in-depth discussions about that, because I think right now we're at a point where we're getting a lot of information. However, we don't have the actual award letter, the specifics of the grant itself. And I think without that, we're just kind of hitting it with a shotgun approach right now. So I think it would be prudent for ourselves when we get the award letter, either to do a workshop or just block out a large discussion period where we can have some other individuals have their input on it and go into in-depth discussion. Yes, sir.
I think that's a good, I agree with that. And I have two comments to make based on what I've been hearing. One is I think that you just classically defined risk assessment. terms of this project, connection to the community and the overall situation. He referenced the grid. The grid, as he went out, has done a good job. The grid is also really stressed. And one of the solutions to the grid's pressure going forward is multiple point generation, which is what solar is. And the other thing is that, yeah, digging into it is, I mean, yeah, again, based on looking forward. And one of the things about looking forward is that there's a lot of uncertainty. And you don't really have a basis in which if you're making intelligent choices and risk assessment, what you're doing is you're allowing for multiple unplanned circumstances. And I guarantee you that there isn't anybody in this state that's ready for a 9. It's just not there. And people talk about it, states talk about it a lot. That's why this grant exists. But none of us really know what that thing is going to do to us. And being able to have the capacity to deal with the unexpected, I don't think you can overstate your job as a fire.
Thank you.
Just one thing, touching briefly, since Dale is here. What's your experience been with maintenance of these systems?
Maintenance that I've had to perform, I haven't had the system about 10 years. Biggest problem is I forget to pay the electric bill. It's $17.40, I believe. And I just overlook it, and then the next month I pay a double. But after a fire, mine's on the roof. I hose it down.
Question.
That's my maintenance.
Your batteries?
I have no interest in this project other than maybe helping the fire department make rational, informed decisions. I'm retired from the industry, and my knowledge may not be up to date, but it's only gotten better. I did look at your checkbook, and it showed, I think, just under $1,300 for an electric bill. Something like
Yeah,
that.
and it's higher, considerably higher in the summer.
And considerably higher in the summer,
Yeah.
as they always are. You still, the size of your system, you're going to be, I'm going to be donating close to 3,000 kilowatt hours to folks that are having problem paying their bill for whatever. They donate it anyway back to the community. I have a feeling you folks are going to be donating some back.
Yeah, it does smell a little bit for a while.
And what I
It's
would,
oversized.
what I would recommend, you had mentioned, Craig, that you had talked to one solar company. You really need to have 3 or more bids. Get to know the folks that are that you're going to be working with. Get a feeling for them. And the system's managed by the solar company. You know, you guys can follow it. I can pull my phone out and see what my system is. I can see what each panel is generating. And but on a system like this, it's gonna be on their computer. They're gonna be monitoring it for you. They're gonna know if in the unlikely event, I haven't ever had that happen in the 10 years, but in the unlikely event you ever have a problem, they're gonna know about it exactly the same time you will.
Okay. Well, we appreciate your input on that. And again, this is a topic that will be going into further discussion now.
I'd like to ask just one question.
Okay.
what is your perception of what the system's gonna do if we get this Cascadia event, all the power lines gone? What's gonna happen here? Is this perception out there that we're gonna just find power to everybody in the area?
No. You may not even know you lost power. Sometimes I look over to see if anybody else's lights are on. Lost power. There's an automatic transfer switch. It's got it built in.
Is this thing, the people think that they live way out wider beyond, that they're gonna be receiving this power?
If not in an incident, but just under normal situations. Yeah, you're gonna be generating power, and what you're not using, and it may be 2 or 3 times as the power you're sending out into the community that you're using. If you're using, 50 kW, you're generating 150 kW. That extra 100 kW in the summertime, when this is happening, is when the electric company wants your power. They want your electrons. You won't know it unless you look at your what's happening on your
I
system.
think your question is that will the power that this system generates help in an emergency to provide some power somewhere else? And I don't think so, because it's going to be interrupted. What this, he's shaking his head, so he probably knows better than me, but what my assumption would be is that what you're going to do is you're going to be creating an opportunity to create resilience for the community to deal with whatever is going on around you. That would be the value of it.
Under normal running, under normal situations, you'll be sending your excess power out to the community. It's going to go into the line, into the grid. When we have an incident where the power goes down, there's an automatic transfer switch that isolates your system from the grid so that you're not electrocuting people that are working.
I might answer that question for you also, having dealt and at large scale incidents, fires and earthquakes and everything. When the grid is down and crippled, every facility is going to be its own island. So in regards to power going out from us in an emergency, that's not going to be the case. We'll just be an island because either, if I use a wildland fire as an example, either the incident management team will have the power company turn the power off, or due to the incident itself, it will have crippled the distribution system where it's unable to transfer any power. So there wouldn't be power transferring from this facility in a catastrophic event if that power would just be utilized at this facility.
Okay,
So
I just don't want people thinking that this is gonna be it's gonna solve all problems. And then they're gonna be terribly disappointed when it does.
Yeah,
And guess who they're gonna come looking at? What the heck are you guys doing down
I thought was, yeah.
right. Well, we're going to have further discussion on that, and we look forward to more public input, more input from members of the board. And will I also take the suggestion of having some professionals also from the power industry possibly attend too. Are there any other comments on any other topics from the public? Okay. Like to, any items that came up after the agenda was posted? Hearing none. Suggested future items for the agenda. I know that Craig brought up the changing of the meeting times. If we can agendize that as an item for discussion at the next meeting. And also we discussed about the award letter for the solar, and I take it, Chief, you and or Craig will be following up on the status of that. So
Yeah, he's the primary contact, but
okay. Any other items that any of the board members would like to address for future agenda items?
I'd like to mention just one really quick thing back, not specific to to the solar grant. And maybe I'm a dinosaur in my thinking, but does anybody ever question where this grant money comes from? We're in a state that's about $30 billion unfunded liability right now with all of our PERS issues and everything else. The new Green Deal gave this energy magic money for electric cars and all kinds of giveaways. The Oregon Energy Trust got a big bankroll to give it away in grants, grant for this, grant for that. Where does the money actually come from and who pays it back? Is it free? Is it coming off of a tree? I mean, I just have to question that. Almost about everything we do now is grant funded. We used to build stuff, we'd save, we'd borrow to build infrastructure and keep it in our community and stuff. Now everything is grant funded, and I question that I question whether that's really a good way to go with our overall country, not just this solar project. And that's all I want to leave.
Could I
I
comment?
can answer that. I just mailed a check for the IRS. So
Yeah.
I'm sure very much.
Share the wealth.
Could I comment on that?
You sure? Well,
I've been worried about this for 20 years. And if you pull up the national debt clock, the numbers are spinning so rapidly. A few weeks ago, I saw it was $72,000 a second, 24/7. That's why I advocate for something that saves money. $1,300 a month, and Craig said that was a low month. You're looking at $15,000 to $20,000, maybe more a month. And if anybody thinks the electric bill is going to go down, I got to bridge this up. With the data centers that are going up and the power usage, the electric cars that you're mentioning, the electricity delivery is going to get real expensive. If you had to pay for this, it would be a good idea. The grant, I can't comment on. I'm against subsidies anyway. But, well, my economics professor used to say, instead of guns versus butter, that it should be sewing machines versus butter, meaning consumables or an investment that is rational, logical, and is going to make you money. This is sewing machines.
We'll be following up and welcoming those further discussions when we get into that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I do
Are
want
there
to,
other future agenda items? That's what we're working at.
okay, I do want to just kind of say that this money's out there, and if our community who has paid into it doesn't ask for it, it's going to go to another community. That's where it is. Ashland got $3 million. They got the first 3 rounds, and that didn't sit well with me. I have to pay the state of Oregon their 10% regardless, and so I thought it'd be good to have our community
it's easy to
coming back to us.
spend other people's money.
All right, we'll be having that and further discussions and look forward to that. All right, if there are no other future agenda items, we'll go ahead and move into an executive session. This will conclude the public meeting portion of our meeting, and thank you for everybody for attending.
Thanks for coming out and for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming down.
Okay.